support systems, it's building on to what we've been doing for the past few weeks. The main topic for this module is management information systems. So everything that we are learning is related to management information systems and the different types. So last week we talked about enterprise systems. Today we'll be talking about decision support systems. For those who are new, I would just like to go through our rules of engagement for this session. Please switch off your video and mute your microphone. If you have a question, please raise your virtual hand, and you can also just put your questions here in the chat. Please complete the attendance register. I've already put the link in the chat, and at the end, I will ask you to complete an evaluation form. Most importantly, I want you guys to please participate, make the session interactive. This is a platform for you guys to learn. And for any technical queries, you just need to send an email with your student number to the Cape Town tutorial office on this city and TAT email address. Then they will be able to help you. So all the sessions are recorded, and you can view all the recordings on this link here, which is the YouTube playlist. It is also on this chat. If you scroll up to last week's messages, the link is there for recordings. You can access that at any time. Supporting decisions and processes, that is our topic for today. So the outcomes for today's lesson is just to explain the types of decisions and phases of the decision-making process, to describe a decision support system, and describe the guidelines for designing a management support system. So there are many decisions that are taken in organizations every day. So we focus on the structured decisions, semi-structured, and unstructured decisions. That is what you need to know for your syllabus. So structured decisions are well-defined standard operating procedures, things that happens repeatedly. And these are the type of things that can be programmable and can be automated. So an example of this type of decisions could be how to calculate VAT, for example. We know that VAT does increase from time to time, but only after a few years. So that is an example of a programmable task that we know in any business, whenever you create an invoice, you can program the system to say it needs to add 15% VAT or to every transaction. So that is an example of a structured decision, and this type of things can be automated so that it doesn't take up capacity from the employees by doing repetitive tasks. So in our example that we usually talk about of a retail system, a decision that does not that can be automated, for example, is reordering stock when the stock levels reach a certain threshold. So usually in the management information system, in the module for uh, inventory, there will be stock levels set for each product so that when we reach a certain level of stock, then an automated purchase order is sent to the supplier to deliver more stock. So that is an example of something that is routine and repetitive, and it doesn't require much of human intervention. So those are the type of structured decisions that we're talking about. If you think about it, even in personal capacity, we deal with this type of things all the time. Even in other industries, like in banking, if you think about applications for loan, there is set criteria of how a person is approved for a loan. Maybe they look at your credit score, your credit history, how much you earn, your ability to make payments, things like that. So those type of decisions can be automated. Then the system makes the decision without human intervention. We also have semi-structured decisions. These type of decisions are not as well defined, so there are no standard operating procedures, but they can include some aspect of structured that benefits from information retrieval or analytical model and information systems technologies. We've spoken about the use of business intelligence and data warehouse. So based on that data, then that type of decision can be made. Okay, Sibusiso is still struggling. Can someone please help Sibusiso? I think Sibusiso, you need to rejoin again and make sure you are logging in with your credentials because the call has not ended. Azania says use a different device. I don't think it's a device problem. It's probably his network connection. Or maybe you need to restart your device and try to join again. I don't know. Okay, let's continue. So we have semi-structured decisions as well. And then to enable decision-making in organizations, there are different types of information systems that are developed to support decision-making. So these are management support systems. So we also have another type of decision which is unstructured decision. So this type of decision is unique, and usually it is a once-off decision. It is not something that happens often, and it does not rely on standard operating procedures. And decision makers, intuition plays an important role. So these type of decisions are mostly made by people who have got many years of experience working in that area, so that they can make an informed decisions. And IT can only support these type of decisions, but these unstructured decisions cannot be automated. If we think about a business deciding whether to open a new store in a foreign country. So let's say Pick and Pay is looking to expand its operations, and they need to decide if they can go into a new market like Mozambique or Botswana, as an example. So that type of decision has got very high uncertainty, because you don't know how business works in that country, first of all, or how the business will perform. So decisions like that cannot be automated. And also decisions about whether to adopt a new technology. It is a complex decision that cannot be made by a system. It requires human judgment and creativity. So first, there needs to be an investigation to see how this new technology will help to improve the business. So those type of decisions are unstructured, and they take a lot of human judgment. So this is not something that you can use AI to make such decisions. Decisions that are made at strategic level in the organizations, those are unstructured decisions and depend mainly on the data that is provided by the management information system. Okay. Is Busiso back? Can someone check him? I don't see. Then there is this guy called Herbert Simon. He was a winner of the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1978. He is the guy that came up with the decision-making process that is described in your book. So this process has got 3 phases. First is the intelligent phase, then design, and the choice phase. We can also add a 4th phase, which is implementation. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that process. So according to Herbert Simon, decision-making is a structured approach that helps decision makers to identify problems, develop and evaluate alternatives, and choose and implement the best solution. So if you look at this decision, it is at this definition, it is a generic definition. If you think about it, it is the same way that in your own personal capacity, you make decisions. So you identify a problem, then develop alternatives. How am I going to solve this problem? Evaluate the different alternative solutions to see which solution is the best. Then you choose and implement the best solution. So a structured approach to decision making, and it is widely used in management and in organizational theory. So it is good to understand the decision making process because this is widely used. The model emphasizes the importance of a systematic analysis and rational decision making while acknowledging the practical limitations that real decision makers face. So I'm sure as an individual, you have had to make some tough decisions and you had to weigh your options. So let's say now you are registered for BSc in computer science or for the higher certificate in EMS. It was a decision that you had to make um, to choose what you are going to study. Maybe you had to take into account um, where you want to go with your career. Maybe you had to take into account the amount of time you have to invest in your studies, also the cost of the studies. So all of these things are things that you need to take into account when making decisions. Then you probably looked at alternatives, maybe studying at a different institution and how that would work out. And then in the end, you decided to enroll for this qualification at UNISA. So that is how decision making works in general. So you can apply that in your own life as well. So this is Herbert Simon's decision-making process. First, we have the intelligence phase, where you collect information about the issue or the problem from the environment. And then you have the design phase, where you decide on the criteria by which that decision must be taken. So in the banking loan example, this is where you will define the criteria, how a person qualifies for a loan for X amount, and then apply the criteria and settle on one out of many alternative solutions. So this is a step-by-step on how decision making happens in organizations. Do you guys have any questions up to here regarding decision making? Okay. Thank you for the thumbs up. Can you name a few examples of structured and unstructured decisions? Even if it is not related to organizations, any type of structured and unstructured decision, even in your own personal capacity. Anyone who would like to try? So let's say, for example, you want to buy a new smartphone. Maybe your old phone is damaged and not working anymore. You need to buy a new phone urgently. What are some of the things that you would look at? If we look at Herbert Simon's decision-making process, what will you do here in the intelligence stage? Yes, Sibusiso is saying there is no clear formula in unstructured decision. Yes, there isn't. But I asked you guys to please give examples of structured and unstructured decisions. So if you can think of any decisions that you have ever made and how you got to make that decision. That is what we are asking. So maybe you wanted to buy a new cell phone. Yes, there is an example. From Azania. Monthly budget is a structured decision making. So in your monthly budget, maybe you know that you need to pay rent. Maybe rent is 4,000 rands. Then you know you need to buy groceries for 1,000 rand. Then you need to pay maybe for transport, or if you have your own car, you know how much you spend for petrol, how much you spend on electricity. So that is structured. Then maybe if you have some money left over, then you can have make some unstructured decisions on how you spend that money for entertainment or whatever. But yes, thank you, Azania, for that example. So Sister says some factors follow cultural policies. Like what factors? Can you explain to us, Susiso, what do you mean by that? And then T. Kumalo is saying investment structure, how to get return of investment and usage of finance calculations. Yes. So that is also a structured decision. Okay. So I think you get the idea between structured and unstructured decisions. Some companies use KPI to determine the performance of service provider in order to give a bonus. Yes, that is true. So that is a structured decisions. And then some companies will have SLAs, especially in the IT world. So if there is a major incident, and the agreement with the service provider is that they need to resolve it within X number of hours, then they need to meet that SLA. So that is another example of structured issuing of grants. Yes, definitely. Issuing of grants. There's probably a structured decision on how someone qualifies for a type of grant. I know there is old age grant. Probably there are rules relating to how old you must be to qualify for a grant. I don't know if they look at whether you are male or female. Then probably a different set of rules for child support grant and the other types of grants that are available at SASSA. So those are structured decisions, and then they are automated by a system. Then it makes it easier. Azania is also giving an example of health-related, unstructured. When you are sick, then you decide to visit a doctor. Yes, so that is unstructured, and also unstructured for the doctor, because most of the time, especially in emergency situations, doctors need to make decisions, unstructured decisions on the spot in order to save the patient's life based on what the issue is or what the injuries are. So let's say maybe someone was involved in a car accident and they got injured badly. So the doctors must make unstructured decisions depending on the person's condition. So yeah, okay, so I think we got it. Let's move on. Then the decision-making process, we said there are different phases of the decision-making process. First is the intelligent phase. In this phase, you identify the problem, recognizing and defining what the problem is or what the opportunity is that requires a decision. It's about gathering information, identifying issues, and understanding the environment in which the decision will be made. So maybe you have an idea to start a business. Maybe you want to invent some new product that will save people money on electricity or whatever device. So you gather information about what is available out there and identify issues that can impact your business, understand the environment in which you're going to operate. All of those fall under the intelligence phase. So it's information gathering. You have to collect data, and relevant information to gain insights into the problem. So this can include both internal data within the organization and the external data, market trends, competitor analysis, which we learned the other day that companies get this mostly from social media. Then you can analyze the data to identify the underlying causes of the problem and better understand the scope of the problem. So this is what needs to happen in the intelligent phase. So the three parts of the intelligence phase in decision making. First, determine what the reality is. Second, get a better understanding of the problem by collecting data and information about it. And third, gather information and data needed to define the alternatives for solving the problem. So let's look at this example. If a person is faced with a problem of traveling from Cape Town to Johannesburg, that is a distance of about 1,400 kilometers. Then in the intelligence stage, the person will seek all possible information of how to travel, whether by air, by train, by bus, or by using their personal vehicle. And this will involve searching for all the possible avenues by which the problem can be solved. So the problem is, I want to travel from Cape Town to Johannesburg. How will I travel there? I have to gather information. So maybe you will go online and search for cheap flights on the specific dates that you want to travel. Or if you are afraid of flying, check prices for the buses and compare prices from different bus companies. That is another option. Or the cheapest option could be to travel by train, but you have to take into account the time that it will take you to get there. So maybe you are traveling there for an appointment that you cannot miss on a certain day. So you can't afford to travel by train because that will delay you. Or you can choose to use your own car and drive the 1,400 kilometers. That is another option. But each of these options has got its pros and cons. So the intelligence stage involves gathering information, collecting data, so that you can look at all the options in order to solve this problem. So maybe in this case, you will look at the cost of using each of these options and the duration, the amount of time to travel by each option. And there is also a safety factor that must be taken into account. We are living in South Africa, so safety is always an issue. So in this intelligence phase, the person will gather all of that information in order to solve the problem. Then Next, we have the design phase. So in the design phase of decision making, you develop alternatives. In this stage, possible courses of action are defined. It involves brainstorming different solutions or strategies or plans to address the problem and identify that was identified in the intelligence stage. So in our example of traveling from Cape Town to Johannesburg, we have identified different solutions to address the problem. Then next is to evaluate the alternatives. So each alternative solution is evaluated in terms of feasibility, risk, benefits, and potential impact. So this might include quantitative methods, cost and benefit analysis, or qualitative assessment. So let's say in this travel example, you are someone who does not like being on the road for hours and hours. I think it is 21 hours by road to travel from Cape Town to Johannesburg. If you are someone who does not want to spend so much time on the road and you would rather choose the quickest option to get there, then this is the stage where you will do that evaluation, that instead of spending 21 hours on the road, I would rather spend 2 hours on the air and then I get there on time for my appointment. This stage also involves creativity and innovation. So you can do some creative thinking, come up with new solutions that may not be so obvious. Can you guys think of some creative solutions here on how the person can travel from Cape Town to Johannesburg? Something that is not immediately obvious. We have the options, possible solutions to travel by bus, by train, by air, or by driving your own car. But there are other possibilities. If you think outside the box, what could be some alternative solutions to this problem? Anyone wants to try? So there are other options. Maybe you know someone who is traveling the same direction. You can ask for a lift. Then you don't have to drive your own car. That is also another solution. Or you can think of something else. Maybe instead of driving, you'd rather fly to Bloemfontein, then you get a car from Bloemfontein and drive a shorter distance. That is also another solution if it works out cheaper, but I doubt it will be cheaper. So there needs to be creativity and innovation. So in the design phase, we must make sure that we explore all the different solutions and all the possibilities, and then we evaluate each one on merit, whether it is feasible, what are the risks, and what are the benefits. So you can think about that for a minute, and there is always more solutions. If we apply our minds to any problem, there are always other solutions if we allow our minds to be creative. Then the next phase of this process is the choice phase. So here you select the best alternative solution. After evaluating the alternatives, the decision maker must select the one that best solves the problem or capitalize on the opportunity. So the choice should align with the organization's goals, resources, and constraints. So in our example earlier about an organization that wants to expand its operations in a foreign country. So in this phase of the process, then they must have evaluated all the alternatives and then select the best solution. So maybe they have evaluated which country would be best to move into. Maybe they did a comparison of how the economy is in Botswana and in Mozambique in order to make a decision on which country to expand into, and then maybe, just maybe, the results shows that Botswana is the better option. Then that is the choice that can be made here. Looking at the goals of the organizations, the resources, also the constraints. Same in our example of the person traveling to Johannesburg. They need to make a decision. So after evaluating the different options, whether to travel by bus, by air, by train, or by car, then they need to make a choice that aligns with their budget and the amount of time that they have to travel. So once they made that choice, then the decision is made. The next step is to implement it. So let's say the person decides, I would rather just pay more money and fly so that I can get there quicker. So the implementation stage means you need to actually do the steps and allocate resources to the solution that you have selected. So the person decided they're going to fly to Johannesburg. That means they must actually go online and book the flight and make payment for that flight. That is allocating resources. So execution means put the decision into action by following an implementation plan. So this happens in each and every decision, whatever alternative that was chosen, there needs to be an implementation of that decision. So that is how the decision-making process works. Then we said there is also the fourth stage that we can add, which is the implementation phase, but still on the choice phase. So the most effective course of action is chosen from the practical alternatives. This is where the solution is chosen, and analyzes each alternative and its relationship to their criteria to determine whether it's feasible. Decision support system can be particularly useful in this phase. So this is where technology can also be useful. In the implementation phase, the organization devises a plan to carry out the alternative that was selected in the choice phase. So they obtain the resources to implement the plan. So if Pick n Pay has decided they want to open a new store in Botswana, then they need to implement that plan. So maybe they need to get a license to operate in that country in order to be compliant with the law. Maybe that will be the first step. But then there are other things that needs to be done. And a decision support system can do a follow-up assessment on how well the solution is performing. So that plan will have different steps of what do we need to do in order to implement this solution. After the decision has been implemented, it's important to monitor the outcome of the decision. So this involves tracking the results to see if the decision is achieving desired effect. So it's always important to evaluate after you have implemented the decision, maybe after a month or after 2 months, to see if it was the right decision or not. If the outcomes are not as expected, the decision-making process might need to be revised or to be revisited and adjusted as necessary. So this is applicable to any type of decision that is made in organization. No questions? Okay. Then the next topic is the decision support system. So it is a computer-based system that helps individuals or organizations make informed, data-driven decisions. So we said structured decisions can be automated. So this is where the decision support system comes in. So the examples that we gave, like issuing of social grants, it is something that can be done by a decision support system. So this type of system provides interactive tools and resources that assist in analyzing data, modeling different scenarios, and evaluating potential outcomes of various decision options. It is an interactive information system consisting of hardware, software, data and models. It can be mathematical models or statistical models. It is designed to assist decision makers in an organization. So you need to know this description of a decision support system. I will share the slides at the end. What are the requirements of a decision support system? First of all, it must be interactive and incorporate the human element as well as the hardware and the software, using both internal and external data. So it must be possible for users to upload data into the decision support system. And it must include mathematical and statistical models to support decision makers at all organizational levels. The emphasis on semi-structured and unstructured tasks. So let's see, what does your book say about decision support system? Okay, they actually have a good diagram that shows the types of decisions that are taken at different levels in the organizations. You can go look at that under 12.1. Yeah, that is actually a good example. I'm going to put the picture here in the chat. So if you look at that picture, it shows what kind of decisions are taken at which level of the organization. So if we start at the bottom, operational decisions like accounts receivable, setting queue priorities, payroll, those type of decisions are operational level decisions. Then in the tactical management level, we have things like resolving conflicts between two divisions. That is a unstructured decision. Sales forecasting is semi-structured because they can use data to do the forecasting. Budget preparation is a structured decision. Then on strategic management level, we have introduction of a new product. That is an unstructured decision. So like the example I gave now about Pick and Pay opening a new store in a foreign country. That is an unstructured decision that happens at strategic level of the organization. Things like mergers and plant location, those are type of decisions that happen at strategic level. So you can go read more about that, but I was looking for the section about decision support systems is 12.2. So it explains what a decision support system is, and then you can go read details about that. Okay. So we said the decision support system must be interactive. So for any system to be interactive, it needs to have a user interface. So that is how the users interact with that system. So in this case, the decision support system is made up of the database, the decision support engine, the model database, and then the user interface. So the decision support engine is responsible for making the decisions based on what is in the database and the mathematical model or the statistical models that are being applied, and then it will give the results to the user. So that is the basic structure of a decision support system. So those are the three major components of a decision support system: the database, the model base, which includes mathematical and statistical models. It enables the decision support system to analyze information. The user interface, what users make use of to access the system. And then we have the decision support engine, which manages and coordinates the activities of these three major components. So you must be able to differentiate between components of a decision support system and components of a management information system. So the two things can be a little bit confusing, but with the decision support system, you know that the DSS engine is only for the decision support system. It's not part of the MIS. Database also forms part of the MIS. And then the other things, model based and the user interface. So you need to be able to differentiate between those two, because they can ask you a question like that in the exam. You must be able to answer correctly. So that's why I'm saying you must understand the difference between the DSS and the MIS. Okay, then we have the benefits of a decision support system. First benefit is that it increase in the number of alternatives examined. So because it is a system, it is not limited in how many alternative solutions it can generate. So that is a benefit of using a decision support system. Fast response to unexpected situations, ability to make one-of-a-kind decisions. So the decision support system is able, based on the data and the different models that are applied, to make one-of-a-kind decisions. It can provide new insights and learning, improved communication, improved control over operations, cost savings from being able to make better decisions. That is always a big one with organizations, cost saving, and ability to analyze several scenarios in a short period of time. So the what if scenarios. And more effective teamwork, because we now have a system making these complex decisions. So those are the benefits of a DSS, and of course, time saving. So whenever there is a time saving component, that is an advantage or a benefit to the organization. Time saving, cost saving, improved quality, improved communication, improved customer service, all of those are benefits when it comes to any system. Do you guys have any questions here? Okay, if there are no questions, then we can go to the guidelines for designing a management support system. Similar to what we said with management information systems and ERP systems, get support from the top. So top management in the organization must support implementation of that system. Define the objectives and the benefits clearly of what the system is supposed to do and how it will benefit the organization. Identify executives' information needs. What do the top management require from this system? And keep lines of communication open. Hide the system's complexity and keep the interface simple. This is important when designing any user interface, to keep it simple for the users and hide the complexity in the background. Keep the look and feel consistent. So with any system, if okay, I see there is a question. The difference between components of, could you please give a few examples? Okay, examples of components. So here we said major components of a decision support system. So this is what it's made up of: the database, the model base, the user interface, and the DSS engine. When we talked about management information systems, let me just try to find that slide with the components. So if you remember from the very first class or the second class, where we talked about Information systems in business. I'm going to share a slide now. We discuss the major components of an information system. I'm putting it here in the chat. So we said the major components of an information system is the database, information process, and data. So you can see the difference between the two. In an information system, there is no DSS engine. There is no model base. So that is what I meant when I say you need to understand the different components of each. Does it make sense? Okay. Thank you for that question. So we were talking about the guidelines of designing a management support system. So the user interface must be simple and keep the look and feel consistent. So when the user is working on one screen, if they click on next, the next screen must not look completely different. So you are familiar with my UNISA and the look and feel of my UNISA and how to navigate the platform. So this is what it means, that it needs to be consistent. The look and feel must be consistent. The font that is used on the screens, it must look the same. The type of buttons that I use, the type of icons, the colors that I used, it must be consistent throughout, so that it is easier for the user. And then the design must be flexible and make sure that the response time is fast, especially when you're working with large amounts of data. That decision support system must be able to process things fast and give a response quickly. So this is what it means, that it needs to have that processing power to have a fast response time. Okay, in your book, they also talk about other things that I'm not going to focus on. Executive Information Systems, which is a branch of DSS. You can read about that in your book. Then they also talk about group support systems. You can just look at the benefits of group support systems and what they are useful for. So group support systems are the type of systems that are used in settings like board meetings or committees. I think there is something called board management software, which is used by many organizations to manage board meetings. Those type of systems are group support systems. And then you need to know what groupware is, just the definition and some capabilities of groupware. So all of that you can go read up on in the book. Yeah, I think those are the important topics. We looked at the guidelines. So I think you have everything. Okay. Questions and comments before we get to the practice questions? Okay. Let's go to the first question. You can just select your answer and put it here in the chat. So question 1 is asking, in the context of the phases of the decision-making process, which phase has the following 3 parts? Determine what the reality is, get a better understanding of the problem by collecting data and information about it, gather data and information needed to define alternatives for solving the problem. Is it the design phase, the intelligence phase, choice phase, or implementation phase? I'll give you a minute just to think about that and select your answer. I see only 2 people gave their answers. So option 2, intelligence phase, that is correct. So the intelligence phase, that is where you identify the problem or the opportunity. So thank you for that answer. Next one, a budget preparation is a type of decision at tactical management level. If you look at that diagram that I posted here, on which what type of decision is budget preparation? Budget preparation That is correct. We said budget preparation is a structured decision. And you can see there in the diagram that it is done at the technical management level. So option 4 here is the correct answer. Question 3, the 3 major components of a decision support system, DSS, include. Which are the 3 major components of a DSS? Choose the correct option. 1 says user interface, explanation facility, inference engine. Option 2, model base, this DSS engine, inference engine. Or option 3, database, model base, and user interface. Or option 4, data engine, database, and model base. This is that diagram that I showed with the components of a DSS. Hmm? Wikana says, I'm going to miss today's class due to a car burning in the garage. Sure. Sorry about that, Wikana. Good luck with that. Okay, so question 3, the 3 major components of a DSS system. You remember that diagram? It shows database, DSS engine, model base, and the user interface. So here, the correct answer is option 3, database, model base, and user interface. Although there are 4 components, the question only asks for 3. So option 3 is the correct answer here. Okay, the last question. Which of the following electronic meeting systems allows a group of people to interact with their workstations and share files? Real-time computer conferencing, video conferencing, desktop conferencing, or digital dashboard conferencing? This is related to the group support system I was talking about. I'm not saying DSS engine is not a major component. So this is what the question asked. They are asking for 3 components, but from the diagram we know there are 4 components of the DSS. So if we look at the 4 options given here, we can eliminate option 1 because it is clearly not correct. Explanation facility and inference engine are not part of a DSS. And then model-based DSS engine, those 2 are correct, but inference engine is not correct. That's why we can't choose option 2. Then option 4 talks about data engine, database, and model base. So the data engine in option 4 is incorrect. So that's why we are saying the answer is option 3, which is database, data model, and user interface. But we know that there is a 4th component, which is a DSS engine, but they did not include it in the answer, in the correct answer. But those 3 in option 3, that is the correct answer. Okay, thank you for that. So question 4 is asking about groupware. Which of the following electronic meeting systems allows a group of people to interact with their workstations and share files? What is the answer here? Number 2, video and teleconferencing, or 3, desktop conferencing. I'm not sure about this one. Let's just search in the book for group systems and see what it says. If you guys have the book open, you can also check. I don't have the answer for this. So if we search for groupware, Video conferencing. I think it is the correct answer here. So, video conferencing, like what we're doing now using Microsoft Teams, we can be able to interact and also share files. So, video teleconferencing. Yeah. Option 2 seems to be the most correct of these options here. Okay. That is all the review questions. So I am available for one-on-one consultations if you need any assistance. For those who are doing INF1520 as well, you can reach out to me if you need help with the assignment. I know we have not started with the content, but I am available if you need help with your assignment. I think assignment 3 and 4 are written assignments, so we can have a look at that. There is my email address. You can reach out to me. Then I can book a one-on-one consultation with you. Also, for those who are doing computer science first year modules, course 1511, course 1512, course 1521. I'm also available for those modules and also for visual programming and a 1511. So if you're doing any of those modules, I'm here to support. Okay. Can you guys just give me an indication of when the assignments are coming up? We are now in the middle of August, so I suppose there's only assignment 4 that is left for most of the modules. I'm stopping the recording.